Good morning, grade 7 learners. How are you doing? I am Teacher J and welcome to Edventure TV. Today is the start of our second quarter in English, so brace yourselves as we venture once again into this new adventure of fun and wonderful discoveries. Before we start, here are the objectives and learning competencies of our lesson. Before we start, can anyone still remember our previous lesson? Alright, our previous lesson was all about idioms. And what is an idiom? Very good! According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, idiom is an expression that can't be understood from the meanings of its separate words but that has a separate meaning of its own. It is also a term whose meaning cannot be determined from the literal meanings of the words it is made of. For example, if you say you're feeling under the weather, you don't literally mean that you're standing underneath the rain. It means you're feeling emotional. What about this one? Okay, we use this when we wish someone good luck, especially before a particular performance. Now that you remember our previous lesson, let's have our first activity before we start our discussion. This activity is called arrangement. This is a mind booster made of jumbled letters on the blackboard. All you need to do is to arrange the letters to their original form so that we can now jump to our topic for today. Alright, let's start. Can you guess the first jumbled letters? Okay, so the answer is personification. Good job! Now, let's move on to our second jumbled letters. What do you think is the answer? Very good. The right answer is simile. Now, let's go down to our last jumbled letters. What do you think is the answer? Well done! Now that you're familiar with those words, let us now move to our discussion.
Based on the previous activity, what do you call those words? Very good. That's right. Those are what we call figures of speech. According to Britannica Encyclopedia, figures of speech are the words that we use to emphasize, clarify, and enhance our writing. In other words, the figure of speech is a literary device used to make our writing colorful, alive, and interesting to the reader. Since figures of speech have many kinds, in this lesson, we will look closely at the most commonly used figures of speech that primarily show comparison, namely the simile, metaphor, and personification. So let's start by defining what a simile is. According to Erickson in 2018, a simile is a comparison of two persons or things that are unlike in most respects. The simile uses like or as to signal the comparison. For example, let's have the sonnet 130 by William Shakespeare, which was written in 1598. Sonnet 130 by William Shakespeare. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are done? If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses damask red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. In some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music had a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground, and yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. Sonnet 130 by William Shakespeare. In this sonnet, Shakespeare's simile in the first line is a contrast, where one thing is not like or as something else. He wrote, my mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Other examples are, number 1, our soldiers are as brave as lions. Number 2, her cheeks are red like a rose. Now, let's move to the second one, which is a metaphor. According to Moniz in 2019, A metaphor compares one to another by saying one thing is another. It's an implied comparison between two persons or things that are unlike in most respects. It does not use like or as. For example, let's have Emily Dickinson's poem entitled Hope is the Thing with Feathers. Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abush the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a cramp of me. Hope is the thing with feathers by Emily Dickinson. In this poem, notice that Emily Dickinson compares hope to a bird, the thing with feathers. Because there are bird images throughout the poem, it is called an extended metaphor poem. Other examples are: number 1, my brother was boiling mad. Number 2, her voice is music to his ear. Now, let's move to the last figure of speech that shows comparison, which is the personification. According to the Oxford Dictionary, a personification involves the attribution of a personal nature or human characteristics to something non-human, or the representation of an abstract quality in human form. It's a figure intended to represent an abstract quality. For our example, let's have Robert Frost's poem entitled Storm Fear. Storm Fear by Robert Frost. When the wind works against us in the dark and pelts with snow, the lowest chamber window on the east, and whispers with a sort of stifled bark, the beast, come out, come out. It costs no inward struggle not to go. Ah no, I count our strength, two and a child, those of us not asleep, subdued to mark how the cold creeps as the fire dies at length, how drips are piled, dooryard and road ungraded, till even the comforting barn grows far away, and my heart owns a doubt whether this in us to arise with day and save ourselves unaided. Storm Fear by Robert Frost. In this poem, strong action verbs are used to find the human traits that are attributed to the wind and storm. Other examples are: number 1, look at my car. She is a beauty, isn't it? Number 2, the flowers dance in the gentle breeze.
Did you understand our lesson for today? That's great! To see if you truly understand our lesson, let's proceed to our activity. Are you ready? Let's start.
For your activity, group the following phrases according to the types of figures of speech they belong to. Use the table below as your guide. Do this for 3 minutes on a sheet of paper. For your assessment, identify which figure of speech that a given sentence belongs to. Write your answers on a sheet of paper.
That's it everyone for today's discussion. Congratulations, you all did a great job. I hope you have learned something new today and have written notes about our lesson. And remember, never stop learning because life is full of boundless discoveries. Again, I am Mr. J. Condat, your English teacher. Thank you for listening and I hope to see you at our next discussion. Bye!